Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in beautiful Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am right here each and every week at this time on this station to bring you, the landowner, the information that you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. And in case I haven't, told you, in case you might have forgotten, I, Doug Clark, the Clark Law Firm, I do not, I have not, never have, and I never will represent gas or pipeline companies. They have enough people representing them. We need people fighting for you, the landowner. And let me give you an example. And this is an example why I say this each and every week, why I get so fired up, why I will never represent an oil or gas company. Had a call this week. Person calls in. They had actually heard the radio show, said, hey, I want to find out about this shut-in information. I want to get some information. I want to attend this seminar coming up. And they call in. And they say, hey, while we're talking, let me ask you this question about an agreement that I recently signed, very recently. And I'm not going to get too specific, but I'll tell you this. And again, this is the reason why I understand there are two sides, but I can't be on that side. I understand, and we need two sides, and we need two sides, but I can't be on that side. I can't. I can't say to somebody or go out and try to get somebody to sign an agreement, which there are two parts. Breaking it down very simply, there are many parts, but two parts to an agreement, two basic parts. When you're a landowner, there are two things that you care about, and you should care about them pretty close to the same. Not everybody does. It depends on your situation, but these are two really important parts, which you may actually, I shouldn't say you have to consider them the same, but you should be factoring these two things, and they're very, very, very basic. One being money, compensation. How much money am I going to get? And remember, if you can get more money too, the second part is we have money as the first part of the equation. The second part being terms and language in the agreement. So what do we want to do on our side? We want to make sure that we are going to get you, and you want to make sure you're going to get yourself, the most possible compensation that you can. I have people say, and I understand, hey, money isn't everything, but at the same time, I'm not saying money is everything by any means. But if you can sign the same agreement for $50,000, or you can sign it for $100,000, what are you going to sign? Look, this is basic, I know. So we want to maximize the agreement. We want you to get the most money possible and don't leave anything on the table. If there's an extra $50,000, we want at the end of the deal that to go into your pocket, not into the multi-billion-dollar market cap company's pocket. We want it to go to yours because that money was available to you. But you have to know how to get it. And you have to know how to pursue it. And you have to know what to say and what to do in order to maximize that money. And believe me, the other side knows what to say and do. So you have to as well, or you need to have somebody who knows what the heck they're doing. So two parts, money. Second part, the language or the terms of the agreement. So if you can't reach an agreement on how much money you're going to get, well, who cares what the agreement says if you can't agree on how much money? Then, if you can agree on money, but the company wants to build a compressor station on your property and you only want a pipeline, well, that's not going to work either. So we need to have an agreement on money, and then we need to have an agreement on language. So you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So back to, why do I say each and every week that I have not, will not, never have, never will work for an oil or gas company? Well, because of things like this, okay, again, my example, somebody calls in, says, hey, I want to hear about this shut-in They get information about that, and then they say, well, I signed this agreement and just kind of, recently signed this. We never talked to anybody. Wanted to get your idea. How do we do? And they said how much money they received. And I know this may sound silly. You may think, oh, he's exaggerating. But I'm going to tell you, I am not exaggerating. That the amount of money that these people received for this particular agreement, I have had somebody paid for this same type of an agreement that I negotiated, I worked on, we did it. Same type of an agreement. It's a big deal agreement. I had somebody paid over 20 times more than what this person was paid. And based upon what this person was paid, I'm sure if they agreed to this low number, unfortunately, because they didn't know, and that's the key. They didn't know. They didn't have somebody working for them. They were only dealing with the landman who works for the company, not them, the landowner. And so they signed a deal where they literally got, in another case, 25 or 20 times, I think it was even 25 times less, 25 times less than another client of mine had received. And in fact, in this type of an agreement, I've worked on several of them, and in every one of them, the offer was at least 10 times more than what this person accepted, unfortunately. And at other times, in one case, it was well over 40 times more. And so it breaks my heart. I mean, it does. A melodrama, whatever. It just kills me. It kills me to see people. Again, and I'll say it, look, I always think about my grandparents in these things. I always do. Who I loved, who I sat on the porch growing up with. I grew up with my grandparents' porch on Sunday or summer evenings after the work was done. And I think about what it would have meant to them to have a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 agreement. Now, truth be told, it would have meant a lot to them because they would have felt secure. They would have felt better. They would have felt, more pride and worth, and they would have got this money for the value of this property that they cherish so much, that their parents farmed, and my grandfather's parents farmed, and his parents, or their parents farmed. So this is really a big part of these people's lives, and to think about they're going to reach an agreement and they can get this money that they can pass on to their children and their grandchildren and help have family stability, farm stability, all of those things that mattered. My grandparents were never going to Las Vegas. They never went to the beach, as far as I know. So what kills me is that a person can go out, and again, this is nothing illegal or anything like that, but you can go out and you can talk to people who don't understand, who don't really know, who don't know the market, meaning what are these type of agreements worth, who listen to only one voice, and that is the voice of the company landman, telling them whatever it is that the landman wants the landowner to hear. Not maybe what the landowner should hear, that in fact this type of an agreement typically goes for 15 to 20 times more money than what we're offering. So think about that. Again, making up numbers, if they were offered offered 10,000, well, if it's 15 times more, then they should have been offered 150,000. So let's just pretend that's the case. That person in that example just lost $140,000. And in this particular case, the loss compared to other agreements that I've seen was much more significant than that. Much more significant than that. But let's just say it's $140,000. And what makes me really sad, it really does, and I mean this with all my heart, it makes me sad that I wish that person would have heard the radio or called somebody who was working for them, who cared about them, who wanted to help them, called. And that's why, this is the example of why. This is such a great example. This wasn't my purpose in getting into this. But this is the great example of why these reviews and consultations are such a great initial service. And I promise you, this wasn't what I was trying to get into. I wanted to say this is why I don't work for oil and gas companies. But it leads into, and this is why, it is why, but it leads into if these guys would have called me before they signed and said, hey, we got this type of an agreement. Can we do a review and consultation? We would have done that. It would have taken typically 1 to 2 hours, including me reviewing the agreement, their gas lease, their situation, and then us doing either an in-person meeting or a conference call. And I do these, again, all the time I do these. And I would have said, thank heavens you called me. Let me explain about this agreement. Here's what's going to be involved in it. If you're interested in that, great. Let's talk about what your options are. If you're not interested, maybe you're not after you hear what this project really is going to be involved or what's going to be involved with this. So if you decide, hey, okay, well, maybe I want to do it. And then I say, listen, your offer here in a case like this, I would say, is unfortunately, it's a pathetic offer. This offer is for something mammoth. And I see these types of money offers for the smallest of projects. So what you need to know, landowner, is they're trying, in my opinion, in this example, to pull the rug right over your face. So you don't even understand and you think you're getting a good deal. But within within 10 minutes of the phone call, I will guarantee this person will be like, thank heavens I called. Because you'll find out the market. And look, if you want to sign 15, 20, 25 times below what the market is, you can do that. You can. If you call me and say, well, I just want to sign it this way, way below market price, I'm going to say, okay, fine. I wish you the best. I really don't want to be involved in that process because I don't want to be involved in watching you sign a horrible agreement and me being your lawyer. Now, again, we would talk all about that, and that never really happens. So, but this person, let me back up. This person would know in this review and consultation within 1 to 2 hours that they were given a terrible agreement with dirt low compensation that I've never seen anyone sign any agreement like this for less than $150,000 to $200,000 more dollars than what you're offered right now. So you learn that right off the bat. You learn then, too, what can be negotiated, what can be done by way of restrictions, language in the agreement to make sure you're protected for liability, any future problems, potentially future money. All of those things can be determined, not determined, but discussed and identified in this call. And you're not going to get taken advantage of by the company. And I feel so terrible when I have to talk to somebody, and I don't want to make people feel bad, ever. I am really a nice guy, but I'm a nice guy who doesn't like to see people get taken advantage of, bullied, and pushed around, or tricked, or duped. And it's not that people aren't smart, it's that they don't have the information. And think about that. If you don't have the information, who are you going to rely on to give you the information that you need? The company who's trying to get the best agreement and pay you the least amount of money and have the greatest flexibility for future operations on your property? Or the attorney who's working for you, who only works for landowners, who battles for landowners to make sure that you're not taken advantage of? Well, obviously, you know the answer to that. And the problem with these guys is, unfortunately, they didn't know about me or any other lawyer that's going to do a good job for them. But they didn't know. And they didn't know where to turn. And the landman seemed nice. He works for the company, but he seemed nice. So he said, oh, hey, this all sounds good. And, hey, we don't know what's going on. And, okay, where's the pen? Well, again, that's what they rely on. So whether it's you, a friend, a relative, or dang it, even an enemy that you dislike a little less than you dislike the gas companies, give them my name and number. Say, call this guy before you sign anything. Do an hour or two a time, and then decide what to do. And if that's all you do and that's all we do, that's okay. But get the dang hour of time, hour or two, and make sure you're not getting ripped off. Because people are getting ripped off everywhere. And we got to stop it. And the only thing that allows people to keep getting ripped off is the fact that we keep letting ourselves get ripped off. Because we keep falling into this same trap. And after 10 plus years, we need to identify this trap and say, put the pen down. Put the pen down. Don't get taken advantage of. Find out. My clients sign agreements all the time. It's a huge part of what I do. We sign agreements all the time. We just don't get taken advantage of because we know, we've seen, and we have a knowledge base to learn and draw from. That's what we need to do, is get that out to people. And the companies, in my opinion, I have no doubt on this, rely on the lack of knowledge base. They rely on it. And every person that calls me and every person that signs a bad agreement, they all say, well, the landman was really nice. It seemed like. Well, no kidding. No kidding. And again, it's okay. They have jobs. I say it, you hear me say this, it's an adversarial process. You're their adversary. You're their adversary. They're your adversary. This is adversarial. It's pretty nice when your adversary has all these people working for them, skilled in this process, knowing what they want and knowing how to maximize their agreement. That's your adversary. And they come to your house and you listen to them. Your adversary educates you and tells you what you need to know, apparently. And then you sign an agreement presented by your adversary without any assistance from somebody who has knowledge and experience with all of these type of agreements. Think about that. And we're still doing it. And that's why people are signing agreements for literally hundreds of thousands of dollars less than what is available. And listen, I don't say this because I say, oh gosh, I need to have some kind of work. I want to work. I would love work, and I'll work my tail off. I'll work for everybody I can that calls me. And thank God I'm very, very fortunate. I'm busy. But I will keep working all the time because this is wrong. We got to stop people signing these agreements without getting any type of review, consultation, or understanding, because that's how people are signing agreements for $250,000 less or $500,000, $500,000 less than what is truly available. And the only reason why they're doing that is because they're not getting the information they need. The information you need to know what the heck is going on for real and what your leverage is. And I see it all the time. And it's amazing to me because it's still going on. Still going on, and we keep letting it go on. So please, call me or call somebody. But we got to stop leaving $250,000, $500,000 on the table because we didn't call anyone and we just listened to the landman. And I'm sorry, but I feel I just feel terrible for these people. I feel terrible. It has been bothering me all week. I feel horrible for these people. And I just know, had they called me before they signed, if they elected to sign an agreement, because there's a good chance they didn't even realize the magnitude of what they were doing, if they did, it would have been for hundreds of thousands of more dollars. Is my opinion. I'm pretty sure of it. Hundreds of thousands of more dollars. Hundreds of thousands. Now, you may say, well, I hope you don't, but you may say, well, 500,000 to 700,000, what's the big deal? I'm sure, you know what? Probably no one's saying that. But imagine this. Imagine 50,000 is what's in your pocket compared to 300,000. Think about that. But I don't care. 200,000 is a ton of cash. And it belongs in your pocket if it's available, not in theirs. And the only reason, in my opinion, that it remains in theirs and not yours is because, or this person's because they didn't call me or somebody knew what they were doing. I can't speak about what everyone else was doing or other people, but I can tell you I know what I'm doing. And if the person would have called me, we would have done a review, consultation, explained everything, negotiation, leverage, types of offers like this, other experiences, I've seen, what you might be able to do, where if you push too hard, what may happen, all of those things versus signing a blank, or not blank, but a form document generated by the company, generated by their lawyers, after a lot of skill and experience, and these people sign it without getting any assistance, and now they're going to have to deal with these ramifications, well, for their lifetimes, and this is for their lifetimes, and in this case, for their children's lifetimes, and maybe even to their children's children, and actually, maybe even their great-grandchildren, and that's the truth. So I'm going to talk, the show's going to take a different direction here in a second after this break, but I'm telling you, it happens all the time. This one was exceptional because I know I could have done so much to stop it. So, if you need any oil and gas lease, pipeline agreement, right-of-way, any type of right-of-way, surface agreement, compressor agreement, any agreement in the world related to oil and gas, you can call my office, 570-307-0702. Learn about representation, learn about reviews and consultations. If you do a review and consultation, I mean virtually every one of them take 2 hours or less. If you're not doing it, I don't know why. Okay, but let's get this information to you and then make whatever decision is right for you. But let's stop relying on these companies to educate you and tell you what you should be signing and what other people are signing. Get your information. Again, call Clark Law Firm, 570-307-0702. I do all of these myself. No one else. Me. I do them. Come to my office. Do them by phone. Let me get you what you need to know. 570-307-0702. Ran this first one long, but I'm telling you, it kills me. And we got to stop this. Okay, when I get back, we're going to switch gears a bit. We're going to talk some pipelines. We're going to talk a gas lease term implicating pipelines. And pay attention to this break. Very informative. Very important message coming up. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. Remember, I, Doug Clark, in case that first segment didn't make it clear, I have not, and I will not represent oil or gas companies. I only represent landowners, oil and gas right owners. I represent people for such things as gas lease negotiations, pipeline, water line agreements, royalty and royalty deduction disputes issues, unitization issues, bad faith unitization, surface use agreements, any type of an agreement, estate planning, doing much more of that relating to clients in the oil and gas areas. And let me tell you, when I say doing more of that, not everyone needs a huge trust or things like that. Don't get suckered into some kind of over planning. Get the planning that's right for you. So any and all representation related to oil and gas, only from the landowner side. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. I don't care where you're located. Distance, so far, virtually never is an issue. Clients all across the country located, clients in all parts of gas-producing regions in Pennsylvania. Give me a call. Let's see if it'll work. And if there's any problem, we'll identify it and say, hey, it's not going to work out. But I've represented hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and very rarely, and I can't think of maybe but one or two times ever, and it really be involved with litigation issues, that it was ever a problem. So don't worry about that. Give us a call, see if we can help you, especially, Tioga County. I have so many clients active there. I have probably more active clients in Tioga now than anywhere. So, guys, there's so many issues facing you. You are the hot spot in Tioga County, and coming up these next couple years, in my mind, it's going to be Tioga County is all we're going to be hearing about, because truth be told, not from your side, but I think the whole situation out there is a mess because you got all these old leases being precariously held by SWEPI primarily, and many of them, in my opinion, have terminated. So you're going to have a lot of issues with. I do other shows. It's not going to be the subject of today. Amendments and ratifications. They're drilling these multi-unit wells. We've yet to even see how SWEPI wants to deal with that. So all you guys that have been sitting out there getting what I would say, getting the shaft, if you will, you guys sitting out there are going to probably, many of you, let me take it back. My opinion, many of you are going to have another opportunity. I believe that. The question is going to be, what are you going to do with it? And if you get any document whatsoever that SWEPI or any other company is asking you to sign, what do? I wish I could hear. Put down the pen and pick up the phone, because this could be your opportunity. We need to take advantage of opportunities. Seize them and take advantage of them. We can't continue to leave these on the table. So if I was out there in Tioga County and I had a lease signed in the year 2000 to 2010, and I'm sitting out there and I'm not getting royalties, and I'm mad. If it were me, Doug Clark, I'm mad that I'm getting a shut-in payment from a vertical well that's just sitting there. I'm mad because it's not right, and I'm mad. So when they bring a document to me ever in the future, what am I going to do? I sure as heck I'm not going to go run to my pen drawer, I'll tell you that. And I'm not going to take the landman's pen who works for the company and not me, the landowner, and use it to sign. No, I'm going to say thank you for the document. I appreciate it. I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. And then I'll call 570-307-0702. Make arrangements to get that document to me. I'll review it, and we'll talk about what it is. And maybe it's a great opportunity. Maybe it isn't. But maybe it is. And if it isn't, we identify it. We explain what it is. And you decide how you want to proceed. If it is a great opportunity, then you may have just made yourself a lot of money by not just simply signing the document the company presented to you. So that's what we need to do. Put down the pen, pick up the phone, give me a call, 570-307-0702, Doug Clark, Clark Law Firm. Here's an example. Okay, we're switching gears, guys. Here's an example. So, landowner calls me, and I am going to represent them for pipeline, right-of-way agreement, negotiations, and I'm going to be representing them. Now, they tell me that they've signed a gas lease. Well, if you've ever gone to one of my websites, pipelineattorney.com, you would know that I talk a lot about the pipeline agreement having to look back to the gas lease and do an evaluation of what rights there are in the gas lease. Now, I have to pause here again because when I say this, one of the biggest weapons that the landman uses against the landowner during pipeline agreement negotiations is to say, well, landowner, your oil and gas lease allows us to put this pipeline in the ground. So we're just being super nice guys and going to give you some money. But if you try to resist us, we will put it in on our own under the authority of the lease, and you can't stop us, so you better sign the agreement. Well, we know that the landman works for the company and not us. So, if that statement is true, well, that can definitely impact my position as a landowner to be able to negotiate or try to get more money, limit the number of pipelines, etc., and making improvements on the agreement. So that is really darn important. So when you hear that and you hear, hey, listen, if you don't sign this pipeline right-of-way agreement, we're going to give you $25 a foot for a pipeline, you're going to get nothing because we're going to put it under the lease. Look, that's powerful stuff. If they say to you, hey, you're either going to get $100,000 if you sign this and we put a pipeline in your property if you sign a pipeline agreement, or you're going to get nothing, or you're going to get $1,000. Wow, that's really powerful. Well, who the heck wouldn't sign if that was the case? If you had a choice of sign the agreement and get $100,000 and the pipeline's going to go across your property at this location that they've told you and they have planned out, versus don't sign the agreement, the pipeline is going to go in the same location, same number, same everything, a pipeline, and you get $1,000. Well, of course, you should sign for the $100,000. The problem is what you're being told true? Does the gas lease allow the pipelines? And I am going to tell you that many, many times, believe this or not, many times, people call me and tell me, the landman told me we could put this in. Landman works for the company, not me, the landowner, told me that they can put this in under my gas lease, and I better take it because they're just being nice. I hear that. I've heard that so many times. And then I look at the document and I say, that's not true. It's just not true. So then I call out the landman who works for the company, not my client, not my client, the landowner, because I'm working for them. So I call them out and I say, I see here where the lease says such and such, and my client tells me that you have the right to do this under the lease. Can you explain how you have the right to do it under the lease? And then here it comes, the stumble. Well. So just because, here it comes, just because someone says it's true doesn't mean it's true. Words in the air are not truth. Every single word in the air is not truth. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's truth. Just because your adversary tells you we can do this doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I understand. You're probably a pretty truthful person. You're not used to people being, we'll say, misleading, deceptive, and God forbid at worst, untruthful. Again, these are my opinions. I'm not claiming, not calling anyone untruthful. I'm saying, though, I've seen it. And maybe let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. How's this? So I also get a nasty letter from the landman groups. How about this? Let's say the landman doesn't know, and they think what they're saying is true. The landman who works for the company, not you, the landowner. They don't know, but they think what they're saying is true. They think it's true. Well, they could be wrong, right? They could be wrong. So when they tell you, hey, we have the right to do this, and they think that they do, well, just because they think so doesn't mean that they're right. But I'm going to tell you, I think at times where there are people who know that they don't have rights, that they tell the landowner that they have, and in turn, the landowner ends up signing a horrible agreement that they never had to agree to, that they never had to agree to the location, they never had to agree to the compensation, they never had to agree to unlimited lines or anything above ground on their property, but they did because they were misled and they based their decision on the information provided by literally their adversary in the negotiation process. And we have to stop that. We have to stop that. Now, I'm going to finish with my story because this is just a great example of how every agreement matters and how just simply signing the company lease without having negotiations or taking it to your local lawyer who doesn't do gas leases, who has no experience or even has experience but has experience doing bad agreements. You need good information because it can really matter in the future. Every single agreement needs to be maximized, every one of them. And don't worry, if you didn't get a lawyer and didn't get help in the future, stop that train now and the next agreement call. 570-307-0702. We can't go back in the past, but we can change what's going on in the future, the present into the future. So give a call. All right, I'm up against it here. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Give me a call. Learn about representation. Call before you sign. Call before you sign the next agreement if you've already signed something. But call. 570-307-0702. I want to do everything I can to make sure we stop having people sign agreements for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of less than what's available, and to make sure that we're maximizing the language. I'm going to explain what I mean more, finish my story coming up. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. We have just passed the 9th year. I've been doing this since 2010, August of 2010. So we're past our 9th year in doing this show, and I'm not stopping because, again, things like this stuff I talked about in the first segment where somebody signed for probably at least, 20 to 25 times at least less than what was probably available or what I've seen people sign before, we got to stop it. All right. Let me get back to my situation here and explaining how every agreement matters, and you need to understand or whoever's representing you needs to understand the fine points of these contracts and these gas leases, what I'm about to talk about in the example, and you need somebody working for you to explain it. So here's the scenario. Landowner calls with the pipeline agreement, had an attorney review their lease, and ended up signing a lease not too long ago. And so now they have a pipeline agreement, and this pipeline agreement it's right through the middle of this property. It's horrible. It's going to cause a lot of problems on the property. It's going to crush future development of this property, and it's going to cut right through the woods of the property. Bottom line, it's a horrible, horrible location. Person absolutely doesn't want it there. Horrible location. Then on top of that, the money, in my opinion, is a joke. In my opinion, it's a joke. And the agreement allows for unlimited number of pipelines that they could install at many different times. So hypothetically, there could be 8 pipelines installed on your property on 8 different occasions. And it's not like in 8 different days. These are occasions. These are construction occasions. So 8's an extreme. But let's say there's 5. You could have 5 different construction times on your property, tearing it up, putting it all back, and you only in this agreement get paid for the first time. That's it. Oh, and then they could put above ground water lines across the property, as many as they want to, as long as they don't keep them there for more than 6 months. So you could have 6 months every single year, hypothetically, for the rest of your life. That could occur. It's not going to, but it could. But not even like, I'm not saying something that's crazy, but what more likely could happen is every few years you could have pipelines, water lines ran across the surface of your property, through your hay field, through your cornfield, through whatever field you have with your crops planted. And that can be a real pain in the butt. And if you're a farmer, you know what I mean by that. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So, this pipeline agreement is an absolute nightmare to these people. They don't want it. They don't need it. They hate the location. Every single thing about this is terrible for them. Terrible. So I have them send me their lease and the pipeline agreement, and we get set up for review and consultation. So the first thing that I do is I'm going to go to this lease, and I'm going to dissect it for pipeline rights. And it's more complicated than what you may think. There's a lot of different provisions that can be interpreted to impact pipeline rights. So I'm going to use my knowledge, experience, knowledge of case law, knowledge of oil and gas industry operations, the methods in which they operate, how they construct these pipelines, to determine what leverage there is for you, the landowner, to negotiate, to say no, and to use to get more money to push the pipeline project off your property if you want it, to get more money and to get better terms. And to give you all of that information and set a plan and a strategy of how you have options and what they are and ways in which you can move forward. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So in this case, I get the oil and gas lease. The client says, hey, I had another attorney check this out, and they said, hey, yeah, it looks all good. So I signed the gas lease, And then with the pipeline agreement, I say, you know what, I think I better need somebody with a little more focus in this area of practice. So they call me. And I go reading their oil and gas lease. And then I am very familiar with this oil and gas lease. So I turn to the addendum pages and I say, okay, let me see what you have that restricts pipelines that we can use as leverage in this very, very important pipeline negotiation. This is extremely important to this person. So I go to the addendum. There's like 11 terms here, and none of them deal with pipelines. And frankly, none of them have any real power, any chance that they're actually going to kick in to your benefit as the landowner. They're what I call as throwaways. Like, hey, we're going to follow the rules. We're going to follow the law. We're going to consult with you if we put a well pad on your property. Well, yeah, they're going to do that anyway, guys. So, and then we're going to have a water testing provision, which tracks the statute. So these provisions are all, in my opinion, throwaway. And all I'm doing is looking for what would be a basic term that I have added to virtually every one of my oil and gas leases, virtually all of them, that allow any surface rights. We don't allow third-party or foreign gas pipelines on the property. What does that mean? It means that when you sign the gas lease, we're saying that if the company wants to install a pipeline on your property under the authority of the gas lease, the only pipelines that they have authority under the gas lease to install on your property are pipelines that are leading to a well site, which has a unit to the well site, a unit of production, and you have property within that well site's unit of production. So in other words, this is simplifying. It's simplifying just for discussion of saying that, hey, any pipelines that are going to cross my property under the authority of the gas lease must be transporting my gas. There will be other gas in this pipeline that comes from the unit that I'm involved in, where it pays out to all the landowners who have property in the unit, but I also have property in the unit. So although there's a pipeline on my property, all the gas that's going through that pipeline, I am getting, or some of it is a share of mine, that all the gas going through, I own at least a little wee piece of it. What we don't allow is for a pipeline to go to a unit in the next township over, or well site for the next township over, and so on, where you have no property in that unit, where you're not going to get any money from the gas that's being piped from those units. We don't want that across our property because we're not going to benefit from it unless we negotiate a separate pipeline agreement that's fair to everybody. So, we want our gas lease to say, if we can't eliminate pipelines altogether, and usually you can't, sometimes you can, but usually you can't. If we can't eliminate them, we want to restrict them to only, under our lease, to only allow pipelines to go to well sites that we're getting royalties from, or wells that we're getting royalties from. So if they come to me and they say, we want to run this pipeline, and it's going to carry gas from units that I'm not getting royalties from, we can just say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Or we could say, I don't want to do it. However, if we can reach an agreement on money, then okay, then I'm open to it, but I'm sure not going to do it for $25 or $30. I'm not going to expose myself to that because I'm not getting any money from that gas. So you're in a great position. Say no or negotiate, and that's where we want to be. So I go and I look at the lease, and I look at the addendum, and I see nothing on the pipeline addendum. And I just shake my head and say, who did this addendum? Because it doesn't have anything in here for the landowner. And that's when I talk about, if you don't call me, call someone who knows what they're doing. Because people or say, oh yeah, that looks fine. That is a good lease. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You obviously don't understand leases and pipelines and future development if you're telling someone this is a good lease, because in virtually every one of these, we restrict the pipeline to only the unit that you're getting gas from. So in this case, there's no such restriction. And in fact, it says that they have the right to transport by pipeline or otherwise oil, gas, water, other constituents from the leased premises, meaning your property, and other lands regardless of the source of such substance. They're trying to write this to say this is not just a gas lease, but it's also a pipeline agreement. But we're smart. Some of us, we see and we say, hey, no. This is a gas lease, not a pipeline agreement. If you're going to run pipelines, they have to carry my gas. We're changing the agreement. Company says, well, yeah, okay, that's actually fair. They changed the agreement. You now have a restriction. This guy's lawyer didn't do it. He didn't do it. He doesn't have the restriction. And I'm going to tell you where we're at then when we start the next segment, or when I get back from this segment. Sorry, getting fired up. But I'm telling you, give me a call. Call us, do a review consultation. And I mean this as much as I mean anything else I say. If you don't call me, and I want you to call me because I want to help everyone I can, and I know what I know and I know what I do. I can't speak for other people, but I want you to call me 570-307-0702 and do a review and consultation and go from there at least. But if you don't do that, and this is what I mean, if you don't do that, please call someone who knows what they're doing, not the divorce lawyer or the lawyer in your hometown who doesn't deal with these gas leases, or somebody who doesn't deal aggressively with them. Get someone who knows what they're doing. It's going to work for you. I'm way over. I'll be right back. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark. Right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus, and give the office a call, learn about representation, see if we can help you. 570-307-0702. Don't be afraid to call. You'll speak with Marcia. She's wonderful. Give us a call, learn about what we do, see if we can help you. 570-307-0702. I really want to help everyone we possibly can, regardless of your location. If you think we can help, 570-307-0702. Because this is what I'm saying. In this example I'm talking about, landowner comes to me with a pipeline agreement and had their local attorney out of the area where the property is located review the pipeline or the gas lease, before they sign, and they signed it with no additional addendum terms, no negotiation, just somebody looking at it and say, oh yeah, that looks good to me. Well, really, what do they know about it? What do they know about it? And unfortunately, I don't think very much, because they left in without changing the language, saying that that pipelines could be ran across the property regardless of the source of the substance, which, again, I'm going to say, I'm not saying that absolutely means, because we don't give up that easy, that they can run pipelines from anywhere in the world across your property, but that's what the company's going to argue, that they can run these pipelines. So if you don't sign, they're going to argue that they can put the pipelines in the ground. One way you could have eliminated that, and generally it's pretty easy, is to have an addendum term added to the agreement that restricts pipelines, that the only pipelines that can be installed under the authority of your lease are lines that are running to a well that you're getting royalty from. You could have done that, and this next negotiation would have been a new world. Instead, the company pushes and says, hey, we have the right to run this line, even though it's not going to carry just your gas, even though it's going to be carrying gas from all parts of the county, and maybe even other counties as far as that goes. It says we have the right to do that because we have the gas lease. And I'm going to tell you, maybe they do, maybe they don't. We're not going to give up, again, that easy. But that's something that could have been corrected. So now, instead of being in a negotiation position on a pipeline, and remember what I said before, these people really do not want this pipeline. It is going right through the middle of their property, horrible location. Everything about it is bad, including the money that they're offered. Unlimited number of pipelines, surface structures, you name it. And the whole negotiation position on the pipeline agreement could have been, and usually pretty darned easily, if you know what you're doing, could have been flipped. Meaning, instead of the company strong-arming you saying, we have these rights, sign, or we're going to do it anyway, and you're getting nothing. Instead of that being told to you, we could simply say, well, Mr. Landman, who works for the company, not me, the landowner, the pipeline, or the gas lease in this case, only authorizes, under its terms, the terms of the gas lease, only authorizes pipelines to go to wells that I'm getting royalties from. That's all the that's all the gas lease allows without me signing another agreement. So I want to get this right and make it very clear. The lease says that the gas company can run a pipeline to a well that I'm getting a royalty from. That's it. That's what we negotiated in the gas lease. So therefore, if you want to be a strong-armed company, you can put a gas or pipeline across my property as long as it's going to a well I'm getting royalties from. But in this case, sir, we negotiated in our gas lease that the only lines that you could put in without me signing another agreement, without me negotiating another agreement, the only ones are ones that are going to wells that I'm getting gas from. And you are not seeking to do that here. You're seeking to run this pipeline to all kinds of wells. Or what they do, and here's a trick. Don't want to go too deep, but this is a trick. The first well that they're telling you is one that you're going to get royalties from, but they're going to link this line to well after well after well. And all of a sudden, what they said is going to only have a pipeline carrying your gas, now carries gas from all across your region. Again, we discuss all of that in reviews and consultations. But had you negotiated, had you done what you should have done in the gas lease, the whole leverage would be flipped for the pipeline agreement negotiation. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Again, so by leaving the form agreement, the company has leverage over you because they say, hey, we interpret this agreement. We can run pipelines across your property from anywhere. And now you got a problem. And you could have fixed it when you did the gas lease, but unfortunately, this lawyer didn't know what he was doing, or her, or whoever. Or you could have restricted it. You could have did a review consultation, found out what you could do, negotiated, restricted the pipelines, and now when they come and they want to put a pipeline dead through the center of your property that you absolutely do not want, it's horrible, it's horrific, you can say no, thank you. Or you can negotiate to move the pipeline or negotiate for more money. So it's the difference. Like this negotiation, by just adding this provision to the lease, could have prevented a pipeline that you never wanted in a million years, or literally could have led to hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future when you negotiated your pipeline agreement. But you just said, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? And now you're stuck, and it is a big deal. It's like I tell my kids, nothing's a problem until it's a problem. All right, we're at the end. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure that you join me each and every week. We're not done. There'll be more to talk about next week, and so on, and for years to come. Each week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. And remember, put the pen down, pick up the phone, give us a call, 570-307-0702. Stop signing bad agreements. I do not, have not, and will not work for gas companies. The landman does, not me. And remember, today's show will be up on the websites tomorrow. And most importantly, everyone have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. Take care.